So let's begin and to order.
And we do have a quorum. So now we ask the public comment. Any public comment, any members of the public here? We didn't have anyone tell us that they were going to make comment today and no one showed up, so no members.
Thank you, that's perfect.
So now we need to move to the minutes of the December 3rd, 2024 Arts Council Advisory Board meeting. We did not have a quorum, so this is why we need to approve two sets of minutes today.
You guys didn't get.
Okay, so did everyone have a chance to read the minutes?
Because you're not gonna vote.
Yes.
Come on.
You'll vote with your.
Yes. Do we have a motion to approve? I move to approve. Thank you, Matt. Second. Who said second? Me. Okay, Vanessa. Okay. And
All in
we are so excited to have a new board member.
favor. All in favor.
Oh, sorry. All in favor? Aye. Okay, I'm so excited about our new members. I just couldn't restrain myself. So we have 5 vacancies on the board, members, not government representatives, but members. And we had just an amazing applicant pool. And we're going to let, we'll start with you. Hey, introduce yourself.
I'll do the even shorter version. I'm Hank Margosian. I for many years was in the academic world primarily, but I'm by trade a working musician, a performer, conductor, composer. And I retired. I was at the University of Tampa as Dean of the College of Arts and Letters from 2009 till 2018. And in my retirement, have gotten back to practice of music on a daily basis, writing, composing, reviewing, things like that. So I've got a little bit of grant experience too. I worked for the Virginia State Arts Council in grant reviews.
Michelle.
Hi, I'm Michelle Smith. I'm Executive Director of the Tampa Arts Alliance. I've been active in the Tampa art scene for 25 years. And really excited to help bridge the gap into the private sector a little bit more, and to interact more with the public. And it's a very exciting time because there's so much happening in Tampa.
I am Mary Dillon. I'm Director of Grants and Government Relations at the Strauss Center for the Performing Arts. So really happy to be here. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Tad Denham. I work for the Gasparilla Music Foundation. I run a program called Recycle Tunes, where we work with the community, collect music instruments, clean them up, and pass them on to schools.
I'm Jane Simon. I'm the Director of Brands for W Media, which includes both NPR and a classical music station, Florida's only classical music station. By training, I'm an art historian, and I worked many years as a curator, and I was at the Geography Museum. And I've also worked in the social services sector in the grants capacity. So this is very reflective of my own background.
Okay, now it's turn for the current members to introduce
You
themselves.
expect me to follow that?
Yes. You're on, Mercedes.
My name is Mercedes Hermino Perez. I'm actually one of the representatives for the city of Pond City. I'm one of their assistant city managers, and I am very blessed to be sitting with such amazing. So that's me.
Hi, I'm Meg Heimstead. I'm the representative from the city of Tampa. By day, I'm the artistic supervisor for the city's Creative Arts Theater Company. We're a touring theater company for young audiences. My background is primarily as a performer, but I was the former director of education at American Stage, spent lots of time writing grants over there. And I've been serving on the Arts Council now, I think almost 3 years.
I'm Kathy Collins. I'm the program manager for the Cultural Development Grant, Community Arts Impact Grant, and Professional Development Grant.
I'm Vanessa Oakland. I'm the owner of Eagles Agency. I
have clients who are artists, and so I've worked with artists for almost a decade now. And I am now the new board chair, so happy to be here.
I'm Martine Collier. I'm the division director.
Allison Fernandez, the representative from the city of Temple Terrace City Council. And I'm an accountant. I don't have any cards.
You need those artists need accountants.
Zero art, you make a beautiful Excel spreadsheet.
Absolutely. If you need help.
You do colors.
I can. I use a lot of color in the spreadsheet.
I'm Lisa Hill. I'm with the Arts Council as well, and I do the special events partnership grant and also help out with the historic preservation challenge grants, which
Eileen Blake, I'm manager with the division, and I focus also now on the historic preservation challenge grant program.
Well, I guess last but not least, I'm Chris Bowles, newly elected Hillsborough County District 6 Commissioner. And I adopted Miss Kemp's a lot of her boards, or actually all of her boards. Happy to do so. Lovely. My mom was and still currently was and is an artist and has been. I was about half a second of being waved called Moonbeam, probably in the 60s. She's kind of an old hippie of sorts, but grew up around art, love it. Our world should be in colors, not in grays. So certainly appreciate that. Music is of great interest to me. I love all kinds of music. Like, in fact, very eclectic, and well, like my people don't understand how I can listen to one genre and then go to it 180 degrees away from another. It's just not what I'm feeling at the moment. So very interested, glad to collaborate.
And you and your wife collect art when you travel.
That's correct. Yeah. So we travel around. My wife is a wanderlust spirit, and she when we go, we try to support local artists everywhere we go. So we go to the little markets and the fairs. So we have stuff from France, Spain, Iceland, Ireland, and then all over just to name a few. But it's a kind of that way. We're not just getting the little thumb, but the little spoon or the little thimble that sits on the wall. Again, we can look at that and go, I remember that. And it also supports the local arts, the local artists. And so we're happy to do that. And it's a nice piece of history for us that we carry back with us. So.
Well, now we are going to welcome our cultural development applicants that are joining us in the meeting. First of all, we're going to explain the process, and then we're going to read the scores, and then the board will vote on them. So the members of the Arts Council Advisory Board serve as grant reviewers for all Arts Council grants. All applications were reviewed by staff to determine eligibility. All eligible applications were sent to the Arts Council board members, who were asked to identify any conflicts of interest with a particular applicant organization. If a conflict of interest was determined, the member with the conflict of interest recused themselves from scoring that particular application. Staff averaged all reviewer scores to determine a final score for each organization. A total of 100 points is possible, with a minimum of 80 required to be eligible for funding. However, a score of 80 or higher does not guarantee funding. Average scores will be announced in alphabetical order by name of organization. Once all the average scores are announced, the Arts Council board will vote to approve the scores. However, grant awards are contingent upon approval by the Board of County Commissioners. We do not estimate receiving approval and being able to announce grant awards and provide grant agreements until after October 1st, 2025, the beginning of the fiscal year 2026. We ask that applicants in attendance observe and listen quietly during the discussion and not interrupt the proceedings as they occur. Any questions regarding scoring or other aspects of the process should be asked of the Arts Council staff at the conclusion of the meeting. Now, we will announce the scores, average scores for each of the cultural development applications. Bits and Pieces Puppet Theater, 90.67. Carolwood Players, 92. Choral Masterworks Festival, 92.33. Florida Museum of Photographic Arts, 93.67. Florida West Coast Public Broadcasting, WEDU, 97.67. Florida Wind Band, 90.67. Job Site Theater, 97. Lumina Youth Choirs, 89. New Tampa Players, 86.33. Power Stories Theater, 92.67. Rudrum Dance Company, 90.67. Trudy Foundation, 91.33. Stageworks Theater, 96. Tampa City Ballet, 92.33. Tampa Metropolitan Youth Orchestra, 92.67. Tampa Repertory Theater, 89.67. Tempest Projects, 92.33. The Gay Men's Chorus of Tampa Bay, 93.33. The Tampa Oratorio Singers, 90. The Tampa Theater, 96.67. Think Tank Theater, Inc., 91. Ybor City Museum Society, 87. Any discussion from our reviewers? Not everyone, our new board members, of course, we're not going to do. Anyone who reviewed the grants wish to make any comments?
I'll make a comment.
Okay.
I would say it's always a great idea. I know sometimes we're rushing and we're trying to get things submitted on a deadline, but it's always a good idea to have another set of eyes on your grant before your final submission, just to check for grammatical errors, punctuation, those types of things. It really does, that's the impression that we're getting as panelists, and you want to make sure you're leaving with the best impression possible.
Thank you. Anybody else? In that case, do we have a motion to approve the scores?
I'll make a motion to approve the scores.
Okay,
I second it.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes unanimously. So we are now, for our applicants attending, this is the end of our discussion on the scores. You're welcome to stay for the remainder of the meeting, but we won't be discussing the cultural development grant any further. Thank you so much for coming. We appreciate your attending the meeting. So, moving to other business. We put attachment C in your board there. Vanessa mentioned in her introduction that she works with a number of artists, and she has suggested we always try and do workshops for artists that help them in their careers, but she has come up with a sort of a prototype, and why don't you tell us a little about this?
So, in having conversations with the artists, I find that there's just this big gap between the business side and the artistic side. And so, even in reviewing some of the grants, I could see where, you know, if they just knew that they needed to provide some quantitative data or whatever the case may be, that they would have gotten this grant, right? And so, so what my goal is, while, you know, I'm in the role of board chair and I am, my whole agency is a marketing company, is to help the artists learn how to market and brand themselves. And also how to build the right relationships in the art industry. I think that there's times that they are in position or in the right places. They just don't know what touch points to make to do that next big thing that they're looking for. Me and Michelle were just talking, there are some very specific artists who are just so super special. They automatically excel in the art world. And then there's those who have to work for it. And so these workshops would be for them to be able to have some of the skills, and get some of the insight from experts like you all or experts in the art industry about how to get to the next level and how to leverage themselves. So so it starts with a actual high level networking event with the leaders in the art industry and the artists, so that they can hear it firsthand. This is what you should be doing in order to get in Tampa Museum of Arts or whatever the case may be, right? And then it's followed by a series of 5 workshops for the artists. And so again, me and Michelle were just talking about how it's hard to get artists to show up sometimes for certain things, but I believe with a high level event and then following the workshops, giving them those touch points, we'll be able to get the artists to come in.
So we're sort of counting on a collaboration with the Tampa Arts Alliance. So that's why I said we want to have lunch with you very soon and see what we can come up with about your schedule and get your thoughts before we get too far on week 1. And any other thoughts that anyone has about this or something, you know, please, we're setting the groundwork right now for it. We haven't booked any spaces or done anything, so we're open to whatever. We just thought we'd have a little discussion about it and see if we could.
I have some thoughts about this from a business perspective. And that is, a lot of artists are self-employed. How many of them actually belong to a local chamber of commerce? And how many of them have thought to connect with the Small Business Development Corporation because they are a small business? Their business is art, that it may be a different business than accounting, but the regulations may be similar, or anyway, instead of reinventing the wheel, maybe try to find some of those resources that are allow in a generic application. Obviously, things would need to be adapted, you know, specifically, like if your general ledger, your chart of accounts is going to look different than fast food company, but yet you still have a chart of accounts.
Right.
So I would suggest that you look at some of those resources and maybe even partnering with some of those organizations and
Absolutely.
not having to recreate.
Yeah,
in response to collaboration, absolutely. This is something that we've been working on for the last year and a half. We've had several events. We call it the Salon Series, where we have artists come and we talk about marketing our social media or best practices and legal or accounting. And so that series is slated to continue on this year, 14 events in that realm. One of the reasons why I'm really excited too about collaboration is because to have, you know, input directly to on grants and grant writing, like that's a really big deal to a lot of people, especially since Hillsborough County offers grants directly to artists, not be a nonprofit. That's a really big deal for artists to know about that more. And I would like to, we're partnering with GFA for part of it, which highlights the emerging artist program that they have. And so we're pretty much just building out an extension from their emerging artist program, which is really fantastic. It was just this last weekend if you had attended, but they, not only do they, when the artists apply to be in the festival, when they show, not only do they get to have a space, but they also get, I think it's like 8 weeks of training I like built out training on how to be successful in the arts. And so the intention was to kind of build on that a little bit throughout the year. And I think this would be a really, really great overlap. Not an overlap, but a great way of reaching different audiences as well. Because I think we get the same artists coming to these over and over again. So having your roster, having their roster, anybody else, Temple Terrace, everyone's welcome. I think we're gonna have a much more diverse mix.
I have another question. Sorry, go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
Well, that has to do with emerging artists.
That was my question.
Okay, so how much do you reach out to the local college artists? How much do you reach out to maybe some of the youth at the high school level, but that are taking artistic tracks in high school, just to help enlarge your pool?
May I just piggyback on your question? Because that's the exact words that I was going to use. But to take that a step further, and maybe a possible recommendation for you to consider is an outreach not just to the emerging artists. Because if we're talking about, traditional undergraduates, it's sort of hard to walk into their art studio or the music practice room or whatever and say, now you've got to take some time out of this and come learn about, a Schedule C attachment to your IRS form and stuff like that. But I would suggest an outreach to the faculty members who teach these students so that in a more organic way, this can be sort of woven into what a student sees around them as an artistic environment. And it's legitimate because it's a teacher in arts that's talking about this. Students are enormously naive, in part because they want to be naive. And if I have a passion for doing something in the arts, I don't want to be sullied by having to go and worry about dollars and cents. Somehow I'll be taken care of. And it's a strange thing. That's not the way the world is.
But a lot of them are still supported by their parents, so
Well,
that is their
Playing
experience.
that the moniker of starving artist, right?
But I think he's talking about somebody who just got hired. And who's just starting off into their careers, they have 6 years before they're up for their tenure review, they're totally emerging artists. And they totally need to know what's going on in this community, they need to know then how, they got a job, they might not know how to go to the next level with their career. So those kids that are still in school, they don't know what they're gonna do, right? But somebody who's coming out of school with an MFA, they might be still in their early 20s, and they could get a job. But do they know how to do the rest of this stuff? They need that work, and they're gonna stick around in this community.
And there's probably more of an interest in that regard, because you also have artists who just want to create, they don't want to think about the business of it. So I also want to have.
Because I do the B side, they do the A side.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think some curriculum too that addresses that for artists who are like, okay, maybe they just want to get into the galleries. So how to get in that regard, or if you really just are allergic to all of it, who do you reach out to? Because it has to get done, you gotta do your taxes. So how do we, build community and team?
Well, one suggestion I do have, it aligned with your suggestion about reaching out to the professors. The College of Medicines across the country have brought in business coursework, some sort of curriculum where the people enrolled in medical programs do take classes in business, because most of them end up in their own practice at some point, and that would be a good discussion for anybody at the dean level of a college or any of the professors to be talking about the business aspect.
Now, I would urge, actually, you said the word, the entry point for this really ought to be a contact with the deans of the colleges within the universities in this market, in our area, that have arts programs. And that will inevitably be a College of Arts and Sciences, College of Communications and Fine Arts, or Arts and Letters in my former case. There's a single contact point. And generally, it's somebody that's is thirsty for interesting and good curriculum proposed to the faculty. In my former university, when I was at American University in DC, we had a robust, in fact, one of the first in the country, programs in arts management. And while it was geared toward the professionals that were in fact going to be arts managers, it also attracted a lot of student interest and buzz around what students were doing, and they would go and sort of seek out advice from faculty members in arts management. So there's a little gap in there that I think can be filled very nicely, including what Jane said about what I would consider a path of mentorship. Really, we want to build these bridges on a personal level so that artists can find the information that they need. I thought at one point that something like a course in self-management in the arts would be the ideal solution. I don't believe that anymore, because I don't believe that one size fits all here. I think we need to develop these individual connections, and that can be with a mentor from outside the university as well, but I think the place where the students are trapped for the moment are in these academic settings, high schools, universities, other kinds of programs where they're learning about the arts. So I would really encourage these connections with key people that can then read.
So, very rare, Nika Jones, she came out of University of Tampa.
Yeah.
And she has a minor in marketing. And so she's, most artists who go, they go just for the arts degree and they're good. But that was one of the key things that leveraged her. Now her art is phenomenal, it's outstanding, so that was gonna happen no matter what. But her business acumen coming out and knowing what to do next set her so much further apart from other artists. And so, but all of these pieces, yes, are needed. So
I should probably know this, but do any of our schools have an arts management program?
Not
That I have heard of.
Because I have a master's in arts administration, and it was it touched on a whole lot of things. I mean, I know more about copyright than I ever wanted to know, but anyway, that would be such a natural place to start, but I didn't
There was
think.
sort of a funny backdoor effort at UT to get into the student business school, with a faculty member that taught entrepreneurship, who just happened to enjoy the arts. She too was an art collector. And with some outside connections that, involved my college as well, they got together and discussed an arts management program, but it didn't fly.
Yeah, I tried to start something there. I developed a program in Wales, actually, and it went so well. It was in 2006, and it went very, very well. It was a business of the arts. I had a partner out there, very well established as an artist, and I brought it back to UT. And everybody was extremely excited and supportive, but nobody signed up. I think it's a very different market right now. I think it's a very different soil. I think there's a lot more artists who are interested in signing up, which is finding the right niche and getting in front of the right people.
Did you bring it back to the business school?
Mm-hmm.
See, I would have suggested you bring it to College of Arts and Letters.
Yeah.
That's what the artists are doing. And building the collaboration.
Well, I was an arts minor, so like it was a collaboration, but just at the time, I'm just saying that the culture here has shifted a lot.
yes,
In the last 15 years, however long it's been.
oh,
Well, we will keep you all
Together.
posted,
Yes.
but I think our next step, Vanessa, is to get together with Michelle and see what we take all these good thoughts and put them all together and see if we can come up with something that we value. See, I told you would go like this. So, does anybody else have any other business, anything they'd like to discuss?
With the, excuse me, the workshop, do you have like a timeline that you're looking at, for kind of getting this going? I mean,
we don't have dates yet, but it would be a high level panel / networking event. And then following after it'd be 6 weeks, 5 workshops every week thereafter.
next 6 months?
6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks maybe.
I mean, you're looking within the next 6 to 8 weeks to do this.
Oh, no. I don't know. We still haven't nailed it.
No, I understand.
So,
No,
yeah,
I mean,
I would like
not the
before
next
the end
year.
of the year.
Okay, sometime this year.
Yes, sometime this year.
Yeah,
And-
and we want to do it. We want to
Quickly
do
as
it right,
possible.
so we make the impact, right? Because it is hard to get artists to come to
Oh, I know.
things, and
Yeah,
so.
I get it.
I mean, on a whole campaign since the beginning of the year.
Yeah, food is always
It says again.
always the same.
Originally, we were looking at around Memorial Day, but we gave that, we need to do a little bit more study in what's the best time. So school's out, is that not the best time? We need to look at because does this need to happen in the evenings, or is it better in the day? Do they work full-time during the day and they can only practice? So I really want to dig into that before we just plug on a date and try and figure out the best time, year-wise and time of day and everything that will work for artists, because they don't always have the structure that those of us that work at a job all day, we sort of know, we know when we're available, but we need to kind of figure out when the best time would be for
There's
this.
so many different kinds of artists and musicians would be very different from sculptors.
But I wanted to ask, is this intended for multidisciplinary artists? I mean,
Is it just
Musicians?
musicians,
or
painters,
is it,
sculptors?
as I'm reading this, it just appears to me to be focused on fine art or visual art or that type, and not performing art or
I
even
think,
musicians.
I think we were looking at it for visual arts for
Thanks.
this go round, but then there's no reason why, okay, you know, we couldn't focus on music another time. But
This template works and it kind of
Yeah,
transition it out.
exactly,
Very
if then we sort of could go for another discipline and, I think that would, but since Vanessa, most of her contacts are in the visual arts, and, I was thinking, just start it off. It's just start with visual, although they're different visual arts, I mean, still, but to kind of have that little, similarity, and then if this works, build it out and, you know, do more. I was telling during the board orientation, it was so, exciting at the Grammys when, the lady that got the award called out and said, the artistic talent is in Tampa. Why aren't you music producers coming to Tampa? I loved it. It was just
She went
great.
to school with my kids.
She went to school.
She went to Lewis Elementary, yeah, when my children were there. One of, not mine, but one of their best friends had a class with them.
I just loved her shout out.
There's a lot of talent in Tampa area.
Yeah.
Sports, music. Ludicrous. He's from South Tampa. No, T-Pain's from Tallahassee. Flo Rida is from Orlando. I know this because my boys are. They bring all their music.
So you are as eclectic as
Oh,
I am.
absolutely. If you saw our Pandora list, you.
See, now you just dated, so it's just Pandora, not Spotify.
Yeah.
I know, I
That's
don't
not
like.
Pandora too.
I get Spotify, but I don't.
So
Anyway, Tampa does have quite a bit.
8 tracks.
Well,
That's my dad.
That's how old I am.
So our professional development for artists award is open to any arts discipline. But that said, the majority of the applicants tend to be visual artists. I don't know why. We do get some people, musicians or video that want camera or, you know, and we even had a stage manager recently that was sort of a first,
Last year.
but the majority, I don't know why, are.
So that would be kind of state fair, do more technical aspect of
She wanted like a computer to have a specific kind of program
run the
that
lights,
allows her to like
sounds.
kind of set it all up. It was really quite interesting.
And Nika Jones was one of our grantees too.
When grants are become available, how does the Arts Council of the county go about communicating that to those segments to make sure folks aware of it?
The Arts Council has our own list. We try to communicate with our list, but then county communications assist and they'll put like a blurb in some of their publications. They handle the social media. We don't do our own social media, but we also just, we come on our board to, if you were talking, saying, you know, like, is it okay for us to tell people about this, please?
No, we always do. I just wasn't sure once I joined the board, like what the limits were, but we always keep it in our newsletter. And a couple of months ago, we gave a shout out to this board. Because of the funding that you all did, that was really saved the day for a lot of organizations that have gotten cut and hurt from the last round. You awarded record numbers for your special events and whatnot. So, yeah.
Well, and I think it's important, using all the different vehicles that are out there. And if the county, I hope the county is doing social media and putting those out there. And, of course, incumbent upon us to get it out to our networks and make sure that folks are, so we can take an active role in that. But I think having those resources available coming from the Arts Council or the county that we could communicate and send out.
County communications has been very good to us. We have this video series. Jane had a special event partnership that was the Chitlin Circuit event, which was, you were there, and it was just fabulous. And county communications had come and interviewed, and, the first thing she said was, these guys are fabulous. So there was a whole table of them exhausted from all, and I went over and I said, first thing I heard is how great you all are. And they were happy to hear it, but it's, they've been very, very good to us. So, but any way we can get it out, we are interested in pursuing, and you guys can help be cheerleaders, get the word out for us. By the way, now that you have name badges, when you go to events, when you go to grantee events and things, they will know someone from the Arts Council is there, and they get so excited when they when that happens. So we've tagged you.
Hashtag.
And you went to Gasparilla this weekend.
We just popped in quickly for that, yeah, I think it was a good full day. For those of you who don't know, I have an 11-year-old as well. And she was performing in Junie B. Jones at her school. So she had that going on Saturday. We had to so we cut our Gasparilla short there, but yes, it was a full day.
But seriously, when a commissioner comes or Arts Council board member, they feel like they've gotten a good housekeeping seal of approval because they're there to see. There's nothing like having someone that's funding you actually come and see what you're doing, and and speaking of the funding cuts, the vetoes, it's been even more important this year than it ever has before. Wouldn't everyone, staff and Kathy is out because they feel desperate. They've lost this funding, and when we show up, it's just validating. And so,
Well, I just mentioned along those lines, with the legislative session starting, I think this week, actually. I've went to a couple of events last week, and they were talking about the session, kind of previews of the session, and I took the opportunity to ask about funding. And it came up in both of the sessions that there was some perhaps expectation that the funding that was lost from last year may be restored, which I thought was very.
It's in the budget, but he could still take it out.
Well, that's for this next year. So there's two things. There's one, the last year's funding and perhaps having that restored. And secondly, it is in the governor's budget for this current year to maybe have that in there. So I mentioned that only because I think it's important for folks in the arts community to make sure that our elected officials are aware of the importance of the arts in our community. I think a lot of folks think that it's a nice to have and not a necessity. It's fluff in some people's eyes. And I think I talked to a representative and asked him if he was aware of the Arts Prosperity Study that is so great, highlights the economic benefit of having arts in the community. $320 million that came out of the last study. And I just think it might be worthwhile for, I don't know who the proper channel is, through the Arts Council perhaps, to share that report as they're going into session, share it with our Hillsborough County delegation so they're aware of that. So there's, again, there's a lot of people make decisions on the business side of it, which I think they should, but having that information, I think would be valuable for them. So I just want to bring that up as a point of advocacy for this organization to make sure that people are aware of the in addition to the aesthetics that art provides, the business side.
it's a good point.
Very true.
Anybody else? Well, this was sort of a short meeting, but then you all had a whole hour meeting of board orientation. So I think it's fun. We'll give you back some of your day if nobody has anything else, and we're just so excited about our next new board members.